Welcome into the very, very first episode of After the Whistle.
Yes, sir!
After the Whistle!
Yeah! Come on, host, man. Give us some energy.
Yes.
Hey, man,
Yeah.
Before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to my cousin Pookie, my cousin Dedek. So I'm just saying,
I'm not from the hood.
just a little comedic relief for the show, man. I'm sorry.
As you can see, it's nothing but a bunch of foolery, but we are outspoken, and it says basically what it is. Say what you mean what you say. We will give it to you straight every time we come on here. After the Whistle is basically just going to be a recap episodes as we go through the first week of preseason.
First week.
But before we even get started,
Oh, no.
let's introduce ourselves, starting all the way on the left.
My name is Eric 3 II. I'm from Rockville, Maryland. I work with all these fools. They good people. I'm ready to talk some football. Let's get it. Huh? He said introduce yourself. How you gonna talk to my introduction? Whatever, go ahead. Eric with a K. I'm sorry, I didn't specify. He wanted me to make sure that y'all knew that I was the Eric with flavor. Go ahead, Eric.
Flavor.
Do your thing, big dog. Nice to meet y'all.
I'm Eric Robinson. That's it. That's all I got.
Hey, look, Marcus Williams holding it down, man. That's all I got.
Marks with a Q, with a Q. You see?
With a
flavor.
Q, with a
Flavor.
Q, you know.
Come on.
I'm out here with it.
Introduce yourself, Dale. Come on, baby.
Nah, we're not doing that. Don't nobody call me Dell. My name is Cordell Moody. I am extremely excited for this. We've been talking about it for a while. There's so much sports to get into, but we are going to be mostly an NFL show targeting to start. We'll branch out from there depending on how our views and audience like it. And let's just go ahead and kick it off straight with Texans Patriots. We're going to start with these rookie quarterbacks. We're going to start with C.J. Stroud.
Man.
Hey, Big Ten Player of the Year.
Big Ten Player of the Year. This is not
Big
college.
Ten.
I'm about to say, bro, they ain't got no relevance.
Exactly.
Right now.
This
Hey,
is-
man, you got to list the accomplishments.
I get it.
No.
But like,
Nah.
Doesn't mean anything
The
anymore.
only
Damn.
reason he wants to do that is because he wants to mask the performance that we saw on the field from C.J. Stroud in preseason week 1, which was not spectacular.
He looked a little scary.
whatsoever.
Hey,
He looked like a
little
rookie quarterback.
uncomfy. Little
look,
uncomfy.
look. Bad offensive line.
You're damn
He was a little shaky, but he probably knew that heading into practice that, hey, these guys ain't really going to cut it right now. And you got to go up against Bill Belichick defense that actually blitzed him, put some pressure on him. Pressure on him even when they didn't blitz sometimes. So you just like, he's kind of a little shaky, but 2 for 4, that one INT, but it could be
in
worse.
comparison to the other rookie quarterbacks we've seen, Bryce Young also dealt with a terrible offensive line. He looked a little more poised, a little more like he was
Getting a
ready to make a
little
decision.
ahead of yourself. We just focus on C.J.
I
Stroud right
understand.
now,
I'm
my
just,
man.
I'm bringing it back. You give me a circle, host, man. I understand you got to make sure everything flows, transitions. I'm circling back. Let me circle. You know I be circling. If C.J. Stroud had the poise, I feel like you could see the poise that Bryce Young had. You couldn't see it with C.J. That's what I was saying in terms of his performance. I don't think that we should read into it. He's just a rookie. It's his first preseason game. But in terms of how other quarterbacks looked, dealing with the same pressure, same offensive line issues, he didn't look as good as some of those other quarterbacks.
That's interesting because we did have that conversation earlier today where CJ was the rookie quarterback that probably actually looked like a rookie quarterback.
I think
Out of
there
all
were
the first
2
ones.
that looked like rookie
Well,
quarterbacks. I won't
no,
get into
no.
the second one, but I think there are 2. I do think definitely that interception was disgusting. The interception that he threw, like he had no business.
But
throwing
it
that.
was only because he double clutched, and so he didn't think that he could throw it. But once he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna throw it," the DB Jalen Mills came up interception. But that's something that's definitely fixable because you just have to be able to trust your players. Obviously,
Okay.
he didn't trust the guys that he was running with at the time, and
trust in your preparation.
Okay. So
That'll
then,
come in time.
what do we say then about his uncomfort dealing with pressure? Because I thought he was a little bit more athletic coming out of college.
but he ran. He actually
His discomfort.
No.
His
But
discomfort?
he ran. He actually
English
ran
is
out of
hard.
a few sacks. So I mean, it could have been more, but he ran out of them. So I mean, to say that, obviously he can run. We saw that against Georgia in that playoff game that they had. But at the end of the day, at Ohio State, he used to just being a pocket guy and having a stable pocket. That pocket that he had, the pockets were never stable.
Right.
So it's just like to have somebody that's always had a mostly stable pocket at Ohio State to now go into a team that's like, damn, like I got to run for my life after 2 seconds. It just takes some getting used to.
Let's also point out the fact that, you know, the Texans are trying to make that, you know, important this offseason where, you know, they brought back Larry Tunsil on the left side. They also have Titus Howard, who is injured and did not play in this particular game, so we may not see him at the beginning of the season. But they know for sure that is important. Having those bookend tackles is important. I think we saw that on the field in Week 1 against the Patriots. He definitely looked flustered. He definitely looked like a rookie quarterback. It was a learning lesson for him, and that's what we have to chalk it up as Week 1, Game 1 for a first-round quarterback.
I mean, yeah, I think at the end of the day, you know, I don't think that it was his starting O-line to begin with, so we have to take that into account. Right. And also the fact that, you know, like you said, it's preseason, a Bill Belichick defense that actually had some guys, you know, the guys that are going to play for them on Sundays. Right. So
and be confident in their plan to go and get a quarterback because of who their coach is.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, it's I still believe in Stroud. It's nothing that's still like, oh my God, he's going to be a bust or anything like that. But, you know, it was some cause for concern, for sure. But every rookie quarterback's going to have that. So we'll just see how it goes from here and see how he can progress. And like he said in his press conference, you know, it's just one bad play.
Yeah. And chalk it up as that and keep it moving.
Yeah, throws. It is what it is.
All right, well, he's not the only person who threw an interception and had a bad outing. I would say Anthony Richardson, Colts Bills. He also looked like he was struggling, didn't know where to go with the ball at times.
So with Anthony Richardson, you know, I watched him at Florida. I apologize. I know I did that. You know, my bad. But hey, he's a Florida guy. You know, I watch them Gators every Saturday, no matter what the time.
It's a waste of
Saturday. Hey, watch him out. But anyways, I've seen him play throughout his whole career, and I know one of the big things about him is he will be a guy that, even though he'll see a pass that he knows he shouldn't throw, he'll just throw it because he's just like, I have the arm, I can just fit it in there, and it's just that's not how it works in the NFL. No matter how strong of an arm you have, and one of the good things about it is even though he made that early. After that, he settled in. He made great throws down the seam. Yep. He did a throw downfield to Alec Pierce that could have been caught for a big game. You know, so it's one of those things where, as a rookie, yes, like he came in and he made his early mistake. But once he made that early mistake, he settled down and actually made the throws. That was the reason why he was a first-round quarterback.
I think you saw the raw talent on the field with Anthony Richardson. You saw the ability, with the arm ability. You saw the guy that was able to. He's hard to bring down. A guy that's 6'4", 240. Oh, yeah. A pure specimen. So you saw the raw ability on the field for him. There's just some things that he needs to work out. One thing's for sure, as you saw in the interception, not having your feet set in the pocket. That will lead to a turnover or a bad play 9 times out of 10. Those are little things he has to work out. But you saw what the coach saw, at least. Going forward, it's going to be interesting to see how he performs because everyone in this room knows that the Indianapolis Colts offensive line is not the most reliable offensive line in the game.
Though they still have some all-pro.
They got some guys. They just got to be a team. They got to be able to be a unit. Right. They have some individual guys. It's just not a unit, and that's what I mean. That's what we got to deal with.
I think Anthony Richardson and C.J. Stroud have opposite issues. C.J. Stroud, he wasn't moving a lot within the pocket. His pocket presence, he didn't seem comfortable in the pocket. Anthony Richardson seemed like he was itching to move, itching to run, get out, which probably was why his feet weren't set with the interception and how that ended up working, just being a little jittery, not being ready to throw that jump. Correct. So I'm thinking, again, we keep circling back to the systems in place for these quarterbacks and how they're being put in a position to succeed. So I feel like for specifically CJ and Anthony Richardson, I have a stigma against Ohio State quarterbacks. I feel like a lot of people do. They haven't panned out. They haven't worked out. Hopefully Justin Fields and CJ Stroud, they're gonna be them ones.
Let me ask you.
I hadn't seen it thus far.
I don't like that notion because I can sit here and say, up until last year, you can sit here and say Alabama quarterbacks don't work out.
There's a terminology.
You can say that.
Terminology.
But it's before. It's because of the system is why I'm saying that. When we look at what Ohio State does in terms of the routes and how they score their points, it hasn't led to a successful transition.
Had Alabama
there's a-
and the talent that they've had.
There's a fair statement within the NFL scouting community, and it says, "Scout the player, not the helmet."
For sure.
No,
So
I
we have-
agree.
we have to get
This is
out
what
of
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I don't like this whole Ohio State thing. They came.
I
Because-
said
because-
I didn't
because
say it was
in
a cool
all-
thing.
in
I
all
said I had a
honesty-
stigma. This is a me thing.
Because in all honesty, can anyone name a Texas Tech quarterback that was
Exactly. My point.
before Patrick Mahomes?
Exactly. Not a one.
But it's any of the people who were bringing up Patrick Mahomes. I'm
No,
saying
but
the
I'm
people
just-
who were bringing up have things that they need to work out, and a lot of the times the issues that they have is similar, based off of the history of their team and what they have been given.
But
based on
what
their
we're
system of
saying
action.
is that up until recently, you would have never said that a great quarterback would come out of Texas Tech.
Oh, you know.
And now it has happened. So why can't one of these guys be that great one for Ohio State?
I mean,
Again,
that's what
to
we
be
say.
fair, Joe Burrow did play for Ohio State. Then he transferred to LSU, obviously, but he started his college career at Ohio State. And I mean, if you want to say Alabama, well, Jalen Hurts had most of his career at Alabama.
Mhm.
Obviously, he transfers to Oklahoma because of Tua,
Right.
but he still graduated from Alabama. So you could say, oh, yeah, he Alabama quarterback that panned out.
It's a system thing for me. That's all I'm saying. The system is
So-
not translated.
so
It has-
you're
I think
saying-
that's all I'm saying. So in terms of things that CJ Stroud will have to learn or unlearn
No.
because
What about
of-
Richardson? Same concept?
Same-
I just want to know.
My fault. It's a little different. It's a little different. My stigma was mostly on Ohio State quarterbacks. Wasn't necessarily
But I can.
Okay.
Anthony Richardson has I feel like a different issue than CJ Stroud. It was just more of
Anthony Richardson just has highs, but then his lows are really low.
That's what. Yeah, that's a good way.
But to bring everything back home, I think Anthony Richardson showed plenty on the field against Buffalo for the coach to feel somewhat excited about going forward. Now, he's still going to have to work some kinks out. And once the season actually starts and defenses are not as vanilla as what he saw in week 1 against the Bills, we may start to see a little bit more of the downside of Anthony Richardson. But again, you were able to see, if you pay attention to the game closely, you were able to see the raw talent on display. And I think he showed some positives for the Colts going forward.
Yeah.
You got any Bills comments, Bills fan? Anything you
I
want to
wasn't
throw
putting my
out there?
business out there. I was just trying to live my life as a
It's
objective.
going-
Objective.
over the course over the course of the 2023
You wanna talk
season,
about
it's
Kyle
going to
Allen?
come to the surface at some point, regardless.
Kyle Allen
Will.
gonna hold down the number 2 spot?
No, as of right now, Matt Barkley outperformed him in this game right here, so that is.
Fight on, baby.
What about
14
James
minutes.
Cook?
James Cook.
14 to
James
15.
James Cook looked good. James Cook looked good. I that's all I can say. I want to see more from Dalton Kincaid, but he only had 5 snaps, only 1 pass he went out for, got taken down. He took out a linebacker, so his route was basically obscured. There's nothing
I like that word,
really.
obscure.
It was nice. It was nice to see Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer together again. That was a nice sighting for me.
Safety
And
combo.
Tre'Davious White being back with them, that was a nice thing to see.
Kyle?
That hasn't
I
happened.
just want everybody to get a taste of how excited the Bills get you. You know
So,
what I'm saying? You're trying to reel it in.
It
You're
is
trying to
what
keep
it
the
is.
tempo.
It's
Yeah,
going
bro.
to come to the
It is-
surface.
it is
absolutely.
what it is.
Absolutely.
No, we're all good.
Your buttons are
Um,
easily poked with the
But going into our last rookie quarterback, let's get into Bryce Young.
It's the number 1 pick.
Bryce,
Bryce
hey, look,
Young.
hey,
I think the Jets got into Bryce Young enough over this weekend.
Yeah. Look,
Pretty rough
but
out.
for those who said his stature, could he take a hit? He
Hey,
took
man,
three. He took
take a
3.
hit.
He took 3.
But
He took 3.
To the chin.
my problem with that is
Tell me.
he took a number of hits over the course of 2 series. Can he take those same amount of hits over the course of 4 quarters? Now I know he was taking these hits and he was getting back up. But again, over 4 quarters, over a 17-game season, are we going to continuously see him getting back up? They showed a problem, and I know preseason is something that's pretty much vanilla league-wide, but the Panthers' offensive line showed some issues that is very concerning for Bryce Young going forward. You guys agree, right?
not.
I don't agree because I think that schematically, as an offensive coordinator, they can do some things to alleviate some of that pressure, whether it's having him out on bootlegs or having him move the pocket to some sort to take some of that pressure off, get him moving, because he's a mobile guy, so it's not like he's got to be a statue. So I think there are ways to do that, and then also, I mean, we haven't seen what their screen game looks like, but that's also another way of alleviating some of that pressure. So there's different things that they can do to mask it to some extent, but obviously we don't want it to be like an Andrew Luck situation.
Yeah.
That's what we don't want to end up seeing happen. Yeah. So I definitely get you on that. But I do think that if it's the right offensive coordinator, they can figure out ways to make it so that he's not taking as much of a beating. But what Eric said earlier, Eric with a K, said earlier,
he had it right the first time, but
was about the whole pressure in his face. He looks like he knows what he's doing. He looks like he's comfortable being uncomfortable. So at least I know that much from him. It didn't look like the game was moving too fast for him. So personally, I think he's going to be just fine. They'll figure out how to get the offensive line together.
But my question to you guys is, what if that discomfort in the pocket starts leading to turnovers? What if...
But he's not discomfort.
He's not.
He's uncomfortable being uncomfortable.
But it wasn't as if... Now, he was turnover free this past week against the Jets. But Howard, let's just say one of those throws that he took those big hits on ends up being a pick six. What if one of those throws he didn't get out in time and they end up being a forced fumble?
I trust this result.
When the turnovers start mounting up, if they do, at what point? No, I'm just saying, like, this is something for young quarterbacks. You have to know how he's going to bounce back from that. When he has one of those games,
you're going off of, now you're talking about character. Where he got that
dog. What I'm saying is he's faced adversity at Alabama, but it was a type of adversity that may be different from what he has in Carolina.
Yeah, absolutely,
it may be a situation where you have a 2 or 3 turnover game, and now you're down 2 or 3 scores. How are you bouncing back from that?
I mean, we don't know.
That's what I'm saying. So
you say that to say what?
No, what I'm saying is to sit here and look at it and say he looks fine with chaos in his face. Well, there's a different type of chaos compared to him just getting hit around. What if we're
talking about rookie quarterbacks, and of the rookie quarterbacks who we've brought up, he looked the most comfortable. He looked like his decision making, his plan, he looked like he followed his plan more fluidly than all the other dudes who we brought up. I feel like that's where our confidence.
He went through his progressions.
Boop, boop.
So here's one of the main differences between C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young at this point in terms of poise, is when it comes to C.J. Stroud at Ohio State, he didn't have a lot of games where it's just like, oh, pressure in his face all the time. He has to find a way to get the ball to the right guy, even if it takes time to run around and get open. Like, he just didn't have to worry about that as much as Bryce Young has. Because at Alabama, even though they say, oh, Alabama has all these receivers, Alabama has all this talent.
And O-line.
Last season, Alabama had a bad O-line to where Bryce Young was running around a lot. Mm-hmm. He faced a lot of adversity with pressure, which is against Texas, against LSU, against multiple teams, where he was just running for his life, but he would still find ways to win, because last season there were no wide receivers that you could say, oh yeah, they're going first round. None. Running back wise, yeah, you had Jahmyr Gibbs, but they weren't a running football team. They were more of a pass. So it's like
he was in there for you for the pass as well.
But even then, when he wasn't a guy that just checked down to Jahmyr Gibbs every play. So it's one of those things where he learned how to be good with guys that weren't as good as what he's used to. And I think that's a difference between him and C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud, every wide receiver on Ohio State's team will get drafted probably at least 3rd round at this point. You have Marvin Harrison Jr. Mm-hmm. You have Emeka Egbuka. They just got...
He had Njigba.
He had Njigba, but Njigba only played 2 games last season.
How many years did Stroud play?
2.
2 years. So he
played with Njigba.
He had
Garrett Wilson,
and he had Olave.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's like the plethora of receivers that he's had, like nobody that he plays with in the NFL, like no wide receiving core, will be as good as that. So he has to learn how to play with guys that just aren't as good as who he's been with. Rather than when Bryce Young, he started off with, Jamison Williams and John Mechie, who are both in the NFL now, but he came in, it's like, his last year, there's no one. If you just name Jahmyr Gibbs, who as a running back is also your best receiver, that's a cause for concern. But with Alabama, he made it work. And I think that's one of those things where it's like, if you have the poise and you have the confidence to know that, hey, I don't have the best guys, but I'm going to get it done, I think that's what's going to help him in the long run with the Panthers.
Trusting your system and your plan rather than your players, and just knowing where your matchups are and where you can exploit them based on the play call, what the defense gives you, rather than, oh, I know Garrett Wilson down there somewhere. But it's still kind of crazy to have Wilson, Olave, and Smith and Jigba on your team at the same time in college versus non-pros. That's a little ridiculous. That was why I was making that face. I'm like, damn, that's crazy, man. Go ahead.
Flipping it to the other side, Jets. Anything on the Jets? Anything that we liked? Anything that we were looking for with the Jets?
I just want to see it. I feel like all of the pieces are there. I feel like they have difference levels for their defense. They have difference makers, impact players at each level of their defense. You got Quentin Williams, you got C.J. Mosley, you got Sauce in the back. You know what I'm saying? You have the pieces to where you can create turnovers, create pressures, stop the run.
And they now have Dalvin Cook.
They sure do.
Who was just signed
It's crazy.
about an hour ago today.
I like that pickup for them.
Yeah, so you had Dalvin Cook with Breece Hall,
He's
Michael
back
Carter
into
Jr., who's been a stable running back for
Michael
them.
Carter the second.
So,
I'm Eric 3 the second. We hold our seconds. You know what I'm saying? We gotta hold it down.
okay, we're
Not the same thing.
We're gonna hold a second
We
then.
can
We're
circle back to
gonna
that.
hold Michael Carter the second. Is that what we're gonna do?
There you go. But I'll make sure.
Maybe he likes Junior better, but hey.
If you get a chance to ask him, let me know what he says.
Anyways, so they have a stable of backs, and I think that with Breece Hall coming off the injury that he had that was season ending, now you bring in Dalvin Cook, a guy that's had 1,000 yards basically every year he's been in the NFL. You have Michael Carter the second. It just breaks it to where it's just like it's less pressure that Aaron Rodgers has to be like, hey, we need to throw the ball. We throw it when we want to, but when you have a running game as good, like.
Was there any concern with their offensive line?
To be honest, they say so, but I think it's more of the pass blocking than run blocking. Because run blocking, I think they've been fine.
All right, well, Aaron Rodgers is going to pass.
Right.
So,
I mean, Aaron Rodgers is going to pass, but at the end of the day, if the teams have to worry about the run game, it just makes it to less to where it's like, okay, like, we have to worry about play action more. Play action should be more, like, still effective. Whether it's just like, are they going to blitz as much? Remains to be seen, but
I will say it was interesting to point out during their dual practices during the week how the talk was that the Jets' offensive line was having some issues. In particular, Mekhi Becton, someone who hasn't really played in like 2 years because of injuries.
Yeah.
And that was a cause of concern going into this game. Now, you didn't really see it, but I guess it's just one thing to keep in the back of mind going into the regular season for the Jets. There's a lot of pressure on them. There's a lot of pressure on Aaron Rodgers. There's a lot of pressure on Robert Saleh. There's a lot of pressure on GM Joe Douglas to get this thing right. And
it could be a thing.
It could
not be a thing.
It very well could be.
They pick up a Pro Bowler,
right?
And Laken Tomlinson. Still got Vera Tucker. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The names are there. It sounds good. I just want to see it.
All right. Well, we're probably not going to get to see it until the regular season, but all's good. But going on from, let's go to Aaron Rodgers' old team. Let's talk a little bit Packers-Bengals. Let's see what's we got cooking. Jordan Love taking over for Rodgers.
I saw a quarterback who was 7 of 12 for 46 yards and a touchdown, but man, did he look comfortable. I saw a guy that was just, he caught rhythm. He had a little flow. You saw Matt LaFleur focus and emphasis on getting him out of the pocket as well with a bunch of play action calls. Jordan Love, I know the stat line for those that are just in love with numbers and box scores and things of that nature. You can look at it and say he didn't have a great game. I saw a guy out there that didn't have any jitters whatsoever going up against the Bengals.
I don't know. I watched the game. I'm looking at him. And I can't get over the fact that he missed Christian Watson on a deep ball. Like, that ball just...
Did he miss it, or was it just a
I think
great
it was.
play?
I think it was a good play by
I
the
think it was.
defense.
I think
It
Dak-
wasn't a bad. It was not a bad throw.
I think it was a great
not a
play.
bad-
You
throw.
throw that, you lead him on that, that's a tutty. Like, your placement is why he was able to make that play, because he had them both beat. He was down there. That you throw that extended arms to him.
But
That's it.
that was more of the pass should have been on a rope rather than hanging up
Or
in the air.
it could be prime Russ, and you could throw that thing up, and it just and drop right in that basket where
If
it's
somebody gonna
He
run up
said
under that
prime
jump,
Russ.
it will be Christian Watson. He will run up under whatever ball.
That's what I'm saying. Like I watched it and I was like, oh man, that's a miss.
But you know what?
That's a miss.
But you know what? I'm going to chalk that up to a young quarterback that's still trying to find a chemistry with Christian Watson, and not a guy that doesn't have a ton of game experience under his belt.
He looked a little stressed in the face. That was what I immediately noticed about him. But as the game went on, I felt better about Green Bay's decision in picking him. And it was, again, it was a little shaky at times. I was like, you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't a bad decision. It was just a little off or a little slow. But I feel like those things will work out with time.
Yeah, my big thing was he knew where he wanted to go with the football.
Right.
It was never something where it was just like, oh, like the play started and he's just like, oh, I don't want to go there or there. It's just like, nope, I know exactly where I'm going, and he would throw it. Mm-hmm. He missed two that he could have had, not counting the one that you said.
Three. He missed three.
It wasn't. I don't count that as a miss. But he did miss two throws where it's just like, oh, if you would have hit on those, could have been really big plays where the stat line just was more favorable to how people would perceive it if they just look at the box score. But at the end of the day, you look at it and you're just like, yes, like this guy looks like he could be like a good starter in the NFL. And one of the other things is the Packers actually, other than David Bakhtiari, the left tackle, the whole rest of their starting offensive line played when Love was in the game. So I think that just added to his comfortability knowing that these are the guys that I'm going to be playing with on Sundays that are, in front of me right now blocking for me. So I think it also helped for him and probably his confidence throughout the game as well.
I want to see a little more, though. I feel like what my concerns were with him was errant passes. I feel like he needed I want to see some more passes and some more pressure situations as the game wears on to see how he looked.
Well, he's definitely going to have a test coming up this upcoming weekend. They play at home against the Patriots. That same defense that flustered C.J. Stroud. So I'm pretty sure Belichick is maybe cooking something up to kind of sort of throw at Jordan Love and that Packers offense to see if they can.
Pending if he's playing.
If he's playing. Good.
Yeah, I mean, look, the way teams are doing it now is, some guys are gonna play some games, some guys aren't gonna play. It just kind of depends. Some players. I feel like Aaron Rodgers might not play this preseason at all.
No, I don't think he's going to.
So I mean, it just all depends on the team and what they want to do and how they feel comfortable with their guys going into the season.
So flip it over. Bengals, no Burrow. Some people think Burrow's going to play in week 1. I'm of the mindset he shouldn't. We can get into that some other time. But if he doesn't, you saw exactly what this offense is going to look like under these quarterbacks. Now, Chase didn't play. Higgins didn't play. But still,
No mixing.
But still, I'm looking at just, can you be efficient? Can you move the ball? I didn't see a lot of that, and they can't afford that if Burrow is not available week 1.
I mean, but you just listed their 4 best offensive players. If y'all didn't have Allen, Diggs, Kincaid,
You said Allen.
Josh Allen, nobody worry about Kyle Allen.
No. What I'm saying is, if Josh Allen didn't have certain weapons, I would still expect him to be able to still try and move the ball down. Like Burrow would be able to move the ball down.
Burrow. That was what we're saying. It's going to start with the quarterback.
I know, but what I'm saying is that can these quarterbacks hold up? Yeah, can they hold up while Burrow's healing?
Well, see,
that's what I'm trying to get at.
Here's the thing.
I'm not confident in it.
Here's the thing of the focus on here. You're looking at a significant talent drop off from Joe Burrow to a guy like Trevor Siemian or even Jake Browning. So of course it's going to be imperative for Zach Taylor to kind of sort of modify the offense a little bit. You're not calling a ton of deep throws down the field that you normally would. You're probably calling a little bit more bubble screens, more short passes. You're probably leaning on Joe Mixon a little bit more in the run game.
Which you probably should anyway.
Which you probably should anyway. But you're probably relying on him just a little bit more because you need to just kind of sort of hold the fort down. It's not going to be a season-long thing. Joe Burrow may miss, what? If he misses games, 2, maybe
I think
3.
Two would be the max, I think.
Kind of just need to hold down the fort a little bit. So it's going to be up to Zach Taylor to not necessarily say, hey, Trevor Siemian, I need you to go out there and beat Joe Burrow. I just need you to go out there and just get the ball in the hands of Higgins, of Boyd, of
we know
Chase.
what Trevor Siemian is.
Right.
A true game
We know
man.
what he is, right.
He's not going to do nothing that we don't expect him to do, which is be standard backup quarterback, maybe make some plays that make us laugh.
So basically, to go off what you said, I didn't really look at this game or even the preseason as a sign of show me what you got, Trevor Siemian. It's more so like, okay, can Zach Taylor just kind of sort of condense the offense enough so they can still be effective with chasing Higgins and Boyd and these and the skill position guys just enough so they can win a couple games or two and hold down the fort until Burrow is 100% and ready to
I
go.
don't think there's that much to read into. It's backup quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, we look at last season, there was a few teams with backup quarterbacks that still managed to win. At the Ravens, when Lamar Jackson was out, they still managed to make it into the playoffs. And they almost beat the Bengals in the wild card. Then you also had the Cowboys with Cooper Rush coming in for Dak. They won some games. It's
Everybody's
just,
darling and Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan was able to kind of sort of, condense the offense a little bit there to make it work for him. And he wasn't pressured to chuck the ball around.
I mean, even Gardner Minshew won a game with the Eagles as the backup quarterback when Jalen Hurts was out for 2 weeks. So it's one of those things where I think of all those teams, when you look at like what's the common denominator, they all have great skill position players. So it's like the quarterback doesn't have to be super great to win a few games. They're not going to win a lot. They're not going to be a dominating team, but can you just win a game? Especially if you have a defense that's, stable, like enough,
That's
average.
He got another contract.
It's one of those things where you just got to be able to play good enough and not lose the game. That's all you got to do, just not lose the game.
All right. So then, let's talk about their rivals. Browns, Commanders. Browns could get hot.
They could.
And if you don't have Bengals. But going into this game, Watson
looked okay.
He looked okay. He looked better to me.
I like the way he was moving. I was like, oh,
He looked comfortable. He looked more comfortable.
What we doing?
I mean, yeah, because
making me mad, bro. Watching our D line, they kept pushing up the field. I'm like, come on, just make your little area, stay in your gaps.
Hey, look, it was raining. They can't really move, man.
Rain.
They said
They played in rain before. They know what it is.
it ain't look that good.
They get paid whether it's rain, shine, sleet, snow, hail. Do they play in hail? Are they allowed to play in hail?
Yes, it's just hard rain. They got
that. It's ice.
It's ice.
Bro,
it's hard rain.
Ice with gravity. Ice with gravity, a little scary.
You guys are joking.
They do have a helmet on.
You guys are joking, right? They're not playing in hail. Are you serious?
You can play in it. It depends on
I
how big the
haven't
hail
seen the
is.
situation before.
Depends on how big the hail is.
Okay,
Come on, if it's like a big boulder, like tornado warning hail,
baseball
then
size,
but
There
if
are
it's just
probably
a
other
little,
elements
if
accompanying
it's
the
just a
hail.
little bit of hail, like I got equipment on, it's just going tick, 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 tick.
Tink Tink is crazy. Tink Tink is crazy. Hail has killed people, but it's fine. Not with a helmet on. I haven't heard no hail-related incidents with a helmet on.
It ain't breaking through the helmet, but
What they gonna do? Is they gonna break through my helmet? Like, come on.
The NFL
they
would
got the
catch
extra
a
pad
crazy
now.
lawsuit if that ever happened. Crazy lawsuit. There was no way
They
the
show
NFL
the
would
pads
let that
is
happen.
good. Just we'll brush it off real quick. We keep it pushing.
What if it hits you in
The
the neck?
ground will be less slippery. Tell you that much.
Will it?
Yes.
Less slippery?
Yes.
Because of ice?
Back to the game, guys.
Sorry.
Back to the game.
All right. So
Browns
yeah.
Commanders. Jesus.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, look,
My bad. It's your job.
look, Deshaun looked good. I think, y'all know I got a little something going on to where I feel like he's going to throw for 4,000 yards. So hopefully
That's easy.
that's in the runner.
I mean,
I don't know if it's easy because
Is
the
that
way he
gonna
looked
lead to
last season,
Is that going to lead to a playoff spot? That's the question.
to be honest, I think the AFC North could nab 3 playoff spots.
Don't get into that too much. We will have our AFC preview leading up.
I'm just saying.
We absolutely will. And
I'm just
as
saying.
you can already tell from my facial expression, we're not having this.
Can't wait to get
I'm
into
not
that
having
show.
this.
Hey,
Yeah.
look, you just okay.
Can't wait to get into that show.
I really do like what the Browns again have on paper, but I should know better than anybody else. Y'all should know what hope does, what on paper do, what adding
That's
things up
beautiful.
to make
You
it
know
look
what?
work.
Why do you know that? Let's flip it over then and let's talk about those commanders. Huh?
Really?
New owner, new Sam Howell.
I do.
We're not starting that.
No, but I do
We
want
hadn't earned that neither. We're not
But
doing
I do
that.
want to ask. I do want to ask. What did you see from Eric Bieniemy in his first game as a play caller with the Commanders?
What did I see? I felt like a lot of the times our offensive line ruined whatever he was trying to do. Like a lot of times I was just like, damn, can't even give my boy a second and a half to make a decision and do some things. But they were mixing it up a little bit. I'm excited to see how Antonio Gibson is used in Eric Bieniemy's offense. That's really what I'm looking for. I feel like between him and Curtis Samuel, like you have 2 low budget Debos. Like low budget until they prove otherwise.
Low budget.
But like they have the ability to run the ball out the backfield. Right. They can maneuver across the line of scrimmage. Antonio Gibson played receiver in college. It's not something he's unfamiliar with, and it's something that he spoke on doing more in this offense, and hopefully he gets an opportunity to do that more. Especially with Brian Robinson coming and taking most of the carries now and being there every down back. AG will probably be used more as a third down back. But in terms of Bieniemy's offense, I don't feel like I've seen too much from that game.
Right.
But I'm excited because I feel like the pieces are there. But again, when you talk about that hope,
Sam Howell.
hey,
look,
one
how-
touchdown, no turnovers.
You gotta stop.
Hey, let
appreciate that.
me ask you with Sam Howell. How'd you like his mobility for one, getting out of the pocket, and then for 2, how'd you like Jahan Dotson? Because he showed off a little bit too.
So Sam Howell, what threw me off was that he runs like a 5 flat 40. So I was like, dang, homeboy's undersized.
That's being nice.
It's not being nice. That's what he tested at. That's literally you could Google it. You got your computer right here. Go ahead, open your Safari.
I trust that. I think he probably read this.
He hit. I'm always surprised by his elusivity that he's able to be agile. I'm like, oh, okay, he got a little bit. I trust him running the football.
Just pocket away.
Yeah,
The pocket. He knows how to maneuver. And he be up out of that jump. You see the gap?
Yeah.
Okay, boom, moving up. And even you see the play where he kept his eyes up, moved up and threw it instead of just kept it pushing. I like to see that mixed up a little bit. Jahan gonna be nice. Everybody who speaks on Jahan too within the Commanders organization knows that he can get open.
Him.
He proved it last year with 4 games, 4 touchdowns before he got hurt. The production is there. He's undersized, but he goes and makes big plays down the field, over the middle. He does what you need him to do.
Gonna be your true number 1 wide receiver.
I knew you was
right
waiting
there.
to say that.
Scary Terry is
Don't
always
do that.
number
We're
one.
gonna get into this conversation again.
Hey, look, I want to see
Look,
what
man.
Trey do against
Look.
17.
Look,
Let's see
man.
what he do. Let's see how that
Look.
knee is covered.
Look.
And we'll talk about
Terry
your secondary.
McLaurin is a wide receiver.
Oh, we're not doing this.
All
All
right.
right.
We absolutely
We all-
do. I'm ready to do
You know
it.
what?
We
You know
want
what?
to.
We gonna talk about
Let's
wide
move.
receivers who are gonna be
before-
true number 1s right now.
Oh, wait, before you get into that, let me say, wide receiver who I think y'all need to look out for on the Browns, Elijah Moore was showing a little bit of that Debo. Having him come out the backfield, rushing the ball. He can be that gadget guy for the Browns. I feel like it adds something different to their offense. And he compliments Amari Cooper. Real
Very interesting pickup this offseason for the Browns, adding a guy like Elijah Moore to their roster,
Only 23.
to that skill, to that offense.
Fast
I think
as
it
well,
does give them a different wrinkle from Amari Cooper, from Donovan Peoples-Jones, 2 bigger bodied receivers. You got an athletic tight end in David Njoku, but Elijah Moore gives you a different asset on the field. And it's going to be interesting to see how he's used for Cleveland this
And don't
upcoming
forget
season.
speedster Anthony Schwartz.
Who
I'm sorry to disrupt the
you're-
transition. You was
No.
ready. Go ahead, host
No.
man. That's my bad.
You really brought him into this conversation.
Hey man, I like him.
He's on the verge of not even making a roster this year.
I was going to blow
I like
by
the
that.
speed.
You didn't even have to acknowledge that.
I like the
That's-
speed.
We can blow by that. Speed doesn't
I
necessarily
like the speed. Just
Speed doesn't
You-
lock down a roster spot. Just because you can
just
run.
saying, Hey,
You can run 40 yards, but can you catch the ball when you're down there? That's the thing.
hey, he can catch it.
Can you get in and out of the breaks?
Can he?
Can he?
Hey, look,
How's his route?
this is why handoffs. This is why you just do handoffs.
Handoffs.
Oh,
Okay.
so he's a
Well,
running
you guys who don't have a
Yeah.
problem with
Don't you have
routes-
Nick Chubb for that?
They sure do.
Hey, look, pop
Okay.
pass, just.
Alrighty.
You
Yeah.
understand how upset I would be if they took away carries from Nick Chubb?
But it's not
For
carries.
Anthony Schwartz.
But it's not carries. It's a pop pass. Let's go ahead, hike it.
Go ahead, host man.
Yeah, we
Well,
can move on.
Hey, look. Chiefs-
I want to talk about guys who don't have these issues, who got promising futures. I want to talk about Njigba, and I want to talk about Addison. I want to talk Seahawks Vikings. Cause that game, that's all I was looking at. I was just looking at these two studs.
We're almost there.
Before we get into those two studs, I just want to say for sure that was one of the more physical preseason games I've ever seen. Both teams came out ready to hit.
And you could see it.
And jumping on piles.
You can tell it was two teams that was waiting all summer to hit something. It was quite obvious, but that was fun. But yes, going back to those two receivers there, two first-round guys, Jordan Addison, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. What did you not like from those two guys? You saw Addison, the toe tap on the sideline.
The catch
It
that
didn't
wasn't a
count.
catch.
It should have been a
That
catch.
wasn't.
Why it
The refs
wasn't
on
reviewed?
preseason too.
You know what? That
Hey, oh, wait, did Daz catch it?
What?
Like
we're not
the
doing
Brian-
this. We're not doing this.
I'm very content with that call of it not being a catch, but that's none of my business. I don't get paid enough.
Look,
I was also really impressed with the usage of Jackson Smith and Jigba, and if he's going to be their slot answer this year, man, they're going to be tough to defend. They
Very much so.
really are going to be tough to defend.
Especially if
Like,
they're running backs. They
offensively?
don't.
Right.
that all depends on Gino.
Run it. I mean, but we saw Gino had a great year last year, and even if he was to say, okay, like he regressed a little bit, like he was one of the most precise passers last year. So even regressing a little bit from that with an offense where you probably don't have to be as precise because you have an extra wide receiver who could probably be a wide receiver one day. You have DK, you have Tyler Lockett still, you have Kenneth Walker at running back. Like they just have a lot to work with. I think Noah Fan at tight
Noah
end.
Fan- yeah,
Like,
well,
Gino a vet.
They don't really
I mean-
in this offense. It doesn't seem like they have like 3 tight ends that they rotate between, and it doesn't seem like it's like a huge focus on getting the tight end the ball, which is why I think they went and got in Jigba to be their slot person.
But
to begin
still,
with,
those
instead of
wide
using a tight end.
receivers, I mean,
Which is
Gino
no,
gonna
it's not a lot of wide receiving cores that are better than theirs to me at this moment.
Gino's gonna be able to read things pre-snap and determine off rip. Okay, DK gonna have a matchup, a one-on-one. Oh, Smith and Jigba got this rookie corner on him. Let me exploit that. Boom, boom. Oh, okay. I see a blitz coming from this side. We got Smith and Jigba in the slot. Tyler Lockett in the slot. Boom. Fill him. Like he'll be able to see the field, understand what he's given because of his time. And I think that he showed that last
You can't
year.
double team.
And you can't. You can't.
Well,
He's
you
gonna be able to
can,
pick and
say,
choose
you
his
can
matchups.
also say the same thing on the other side with Addison and Jefferson together. Who and Hawkinson, right?
It definitely
So-
helps.
Yeah.
What Vikings?
I'm like
The Vikings
man.
last year, in terms of their close games, that was something that they hadn't done before. Like they had that same issue with losing close games a few years prior. Having another guy like Jordan Addison, who in them big moments can win you one-on-ones,
Yeah.
where you can not necessarily have to zero in on Justin Jefferson. You have another dude who you can trust to go and get you one at the sticks.
I'm also
That'll help in those
And
situations.
I know this guy is not amongst the rookies that we're talking about here, but I was really interested in how Jalen Reagor performed in that particular game. He led the team in catches and yards, and this is a guy that is pretty much at this point. He's almost on his last legs within the league. He has a bad reputation, of course, because of how his career played out in Philly. Was traded to Minnesota, hasn't really done much of anything, but how he was used in that particular game, I'm very interested in seeing how the Vikings are going to roll him out this particular season.
How old is Jalen Reagor?
Reagor has to be, 24, 25?
He's not that old. You say last leg, he's 24. He got plenty of time.
Yeah, but he's been in the league
no,
since he was
it-
what, 20?
Yeah, he's
If
this.
that, I still give him. I was encouraged. I was surprised to see him out there that much.
He was in the
I
same
guess
draft class, I think, as DK Metcalf.
was.
he
So
has
it's
more
like-
to prove. I feel like, but I don't want to say it's his last leg. Like, I don't think like this is his ceiling by
Well, I
any
mean,
stretch.
for a guy that was drafted, you got to keep in mind he was drafted before Justin Jefferson.
He sure was.
Yeah.
So he was drafted before Justin Jefferson in Philly. Didn't pan out. Got traded to the Vikings. Same team as Justin Jefferson, of course. If he doesn't do anything there, I don't really see much of a future for him.
I mean, it's tough because even like the Justin Jefferson fault, that's non-football in terms of for him and his mentals. That's non-football stuff. It's not his fault that he got drafted where he did. It's not Mr. Trubisky's fault
yeah.
he got drafted before all Mahomes and Watson.
Well, you gotta
You know
think
what
like
I'm
how
saying?
how many teams are drafting wide receivers like yearly? Because it's such a position where guys are just.
There's a class. There's a reload.
It's like you got guys and okay, they're gonna be there, but then you have other guys. It's like if I could find somebody better for cheaper, I'm gonna keep going with that option, and that's that might be why Jalen Reagor might.
That's fair.
Find himself, if he doesn't do
shiny
anything,
new toy for cheaper.
He just has to produce something.
Just in terms of context, you're talking about a guy that has 72 catches in 3 years.
But some people have more than that in a season.
That's not a lot.
Understandable.
That's not a lot. So he's got it. This is a prove-it year for Jalen Reagor.
So when y'all were watching him, did you see anything during the game that popped to you that was different? Like
his route running, for sure. His route running, his ability to separate against defenders was something that we didn't see in Philly. He struggled with that. But I saw a different guy. Maybe it was because he's working alongside arguably the best receiver in the game. So that's, having Justin Jefferson there is kind of rubbing off on him a little bit. But again, going forward, I'm not putting a whole bunch of hope into it, but I just thought it was interesting. But of course, as you stated, opening up this conversation, Jordan Addison is going to be the sidekick to Justin Jefferson this year. And even though he only had one catch, he definitely looked impressive in that preseason opener against Seattle.
He did.
Between Reagor and KJ Osborne.
Yes.
Who else would you guys say? Week 1 standouts. Who else looked impressive?
Whew, man.
When we talk about the Durs, I wanted to see.
We weren't talking about the
I don't
Durs.
think you were.
Did we say it?
I don't
We
think
mentioned
were.
them. We had a whole little. Don't do this. Y'all not gonna get me started.
Talking about the Durs.
All right, look. You asked me who I seen. Emmanuel Forms. I seen him. I could watch him on the tape. He played bigger than what he is. I was really looking to see how, when he's dealing with the CeeDee Lambs and the AJ Browns, how physical homeboy gonna be at $170 soaking wet, and homeboy plays like he ready to stop a mud hole through somebody's chest. I seen it. Every single play, he was in the receiver. Boom, he was there. Cover. Bow. On the goal line, made a tackle to help stop the Browns from scoring. Turnover on downs. Boom. Emmanuel Forbes was in there. In the mush. He's not afraid to stick his head in there and make a play. Love that. And he creates turnovers, which is something that the the Commanders, how I do that. That's
How
crazy.
dare you?
Yeah,
How dare you say that?
You know what it was? You know
What
it
is
was?
your problem?
We were looking at people
He
who
will
got
not be on the
drafted.
next show. He will not. He will be suspended for one show.
I clicked on a link today and it said Washington Redskins on there. And I was so confused. I was like, how y'all have Washington Redskins for a projected 2024 draft? And this, you know what I'm saying? That's probably where. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah,
the Durs, shout out the Durs.
His own squad.
They weren't good at creating interceptions and turnovers last year. They was okay, but he'll help get the ball back for our offense.
Are we talking performances in a positive or negative light?
You can go how you want.
I want to talk about two quarterbacks in a
I was
negative
gonna say
light.
Brett Jameson Williams.
In a
dropped the ball.
negative light?
In a negative light.
Negative.
I don't have time for that right now.
We're not going to go in a negative light?
I know where you're gonna go.
Can I go?
So
can I-
before
can
we
I pick
go
one?
there,
Can I pick
because
one?
it's gonna no. I want you to do your positives first because I feel like you're gonna choose a negative and it's gonna start a whole conversation. We'll get to it. Just hold it for a second and just give me your positive.
My
We love
positive,
instigating
my
here.
my
That's
positives.
Yes.
From what I've seen, I mean, I think we kind of sort of pointed them out. I really like what I saw from Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears in that offense. He only threw 3 passes, and of course, everybody's going to talk about the negative air yards with those passes. I don't care. If that's part of their offense, then that works. If that's part of their offense and it produces 60-plus yards touchdowns, how can we complain? No matter how far behind the line of scrimmage he throws the ball. I saw a quarterback who is starting to find somewhat of a rhythm. Even though with DJ Moore, there's still, DJ Moore getting there, getting acclimated. It's still going to take a little bit of time. But I just feel as if this offense is going to be what Justin Fields needs to thrive and to develop going forward for him. And this is a big year for him. It's a big year for the Bears organization as well.
I'm gonna say that look was what got Jimmy G to a Super Bowl. Those finding your weapons, get it
Just
to
getting the
George
ball
Kittle,
in their
get it
hands.
to Debo Samuel, whatever the case is, put it in their hands.
Fair, but Justin Fields coming out of college, nobody was saying, "There's another Jimmy G."
For sure.
That was not the expectation.
But Jimmy G,
So,
now
man.
6'3", 230, can run fast.
But at this point, some guys are like, and honestly, it might not even be now, but even, last season, people are like, damn, if Justin Fields was on the 49ers, just think of what they could have been. It's because people know, like, if he has weapons, he's never had weapons since he's been in Chicago. So, like, if he has weapons, he could be, and this is why people are still holding out hope for Justin Fields rather than somebody who has weapons and they're not producing. And year 3, they're just like, oh, well, he's just not that guy then. But with Justin Fields, you're like, damn, his first 2 years, he's had a pretty bad supporting cast in terms of skill positions.
Right.
You can't really say a whole lot of teams, and offensive line, you can't really say a lot of teams have had the worst in what he's had. Yet he progressed from year 1 to year 2. Mm-hmm. So now you got to think, okay, if you give him better stuff, he just has to make another jump that you would expect him to have. And I think if you were to just say some other players that I thought jumped off for me in the preseason, Will McDonald, the edge rusher from the Jets, he had himself a sack and some pressures. And I'm just like, okay, if he's going to be not one of the starting edge rushers, but one of the backups, but he's been producing because the Jets have had, they have Quentin Williams, they have Jermaine Johnson that they got last year. You add in another pass rusher in Will McDonald. It just helps their already great defense prove to do it again, because if having a solid pass rush and the DBs that they have with Gardner Johnson, it just makes, not Gardner Johnson, but Sauce Gardner. Yeah. With Sauce Gardner, it just makes it to where it's just like it's easier for the DBs to play with a pass rush. If it's easier for them, it's easier for linebackers, because it's like, okay, if we know we have a pass rush, I don't have to make sure, I can make sure I can focus on, oh, is it a play action? Like, I can make sure that these passing lanes are sealed up. So it just makes things easier when you have a defensive line that can create pressure without having to say, oh, we got to bring a blitz. Mm-hmm. Also, number 2, I'd say Deuce Vaughn. Dude was, 58 carries, 50 yards, and a touchdown. He's a shifty guy. Looks like Darren Sproles. And you're just like, okay, the Cowboys, they already have Tony Pollard, but we know he's not going to get 30 touches a game, so it's going to have to be somebody else. Ronald Jones is out for 2 games at least, so he's going to factor into the offense at some point or another. And you feel like, okay, we have a shifty Darren Sproles-like guy in an offense with the Cowboys that can be wide open with the type of players that they have at the wide receiver position with CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and Gallup. It just makes it easier to say that, oh, yeah, Deuce Vaughn can actually be a big asset in their offense. Just basically off the type of guy that he has. Kind of like an Austin Eckler type of guy, to be honest. But
I love that being compared to Darren Sproles. It makes my heart happy because Darren Sproles was so nasty. I wish that he got more credit than what he did. Little 43. Running around.
Chargers Darren Sproles. Even a little bit of Eagles Darren Sproles.
Yeah, Chargers Darren Sproles.
Saints Darren Sproles was a handful as well.
Before you get negative.
Yeah.
Before you get negative.
Oh, you don't want to get negative. Okay.
The Giants corner from Maryland. Shout out Maryland one time. Deonte Banks. Homeboy, I hated watching him play. He had 23 snaps, 3 targets, no catches allowed. Whenever I watched him, whenever the receiver, beat their feet, boom, Deontay was right there. I was like, dang, can homeboy breathe? He ain't get no separation, no nothing. I don't like that at all. The Giants defense,
I thought we were trying to be positive. He like, I don't like that.
Nah, because the Giants defense is solid. I don't want them to get better. They already got people on their line. Leonard Williams messed things up. You know what I'm saying? Fight on again. You got Xavier McKinney coming back, probably healthy. The year before he had 5, or in 2021 he had 5 interceptions. Last year he only played 9 games. Them Bama boys be hooping. I don't like what they putting out right now. I really don't. Go ahead, Mr. Negativity.
Come on, hit me with it. Go ahead.
Jealous
well, let's see how you sound right.
Let's see. So with the negativity, I'm gonna look in the camera as I say this. Man. It's time to start panicking in the Bay Area. Okay. The quarterback position is a massive question mark going into the season. All right. Trey Lance. Didn't like what I saw. Not at all.
He didn't like it.
I definitely know Sam Darnold's probably not the answer. And if you're putting a whole lot of hope in Brock Purdy and his elbow, he kind of sort of threw 4 interceptions in his last practice last week. I'm not sure how much hope you can put into that. Once again, it's time to start panicking a little bit in the Bay Area
Ain't no way
at the
we
quarterback
talking
position.
about practice interceptions.
4.
Practice
4.
interceptions.
Not the
what
game.
we're
Not the game.
That's one.
Not a game.
That's one practice.
Practice.
But you guys know he's been throwing interceptions in every practice he's been in since he came back, right? You guys know that, right?
So we're gonna base Brock Purdy off of practice rather than what he did last season.
Given the fact
To give
that
his team-
this may be a totally different quarterback coming from injuries such as that, yes. This may not be the same Brock Purdy we saw last year.
You can say it
Now,
may not,
I
but
also
you
want to
panicking
address
a little
that.
early.
I also want to address.
All right, go
Well,
ahead,
I also
Nick.
want to address that
Okay.
because you really want to look at just that particular stretch of the season and say that's Brock Purdy. Man, that's
not what I said.
That's
you
that's-
said they in shambles.
We-
They should red
we-
alert, red
I'm a
alert.
little concerned. I'm a little
That's what you
concerned,
said.
bro.
We will definitely get into Purdy when we talk about the whole NFC and where we see the 49ers.
Hey, Sam Darnold look good for
and
it.
all of that.
Just wanna throw that out there.
But
He looked good against UPS.
what I do want
Oh,
to
so now they UPS drivers. That's what we doing. So
I mean-
the practice squad, they not UPS drivers, but the people that
No,
Sam Darnold
he's going
was
to get
carving
first
up.
and second team guys.
How you know? Use that practice?
Brock, that's who they're practicing.
Okay.
Yes, that's who it's been reported.
It reported by who?
you know he locked in on
Jesus
Twitter.
Christ.
You know he locked in.
Hey.
I'm being a hater. That
He
was
got
my
the
leg.
sources.
I'm
He
sorry,
got
I
the
see that.
sources.
Go ahead.
This is, and I will continue to say this for Mr. Panic Mode and whatever have you. They went out, they got Trey Lance. Let the man develop. Some people are good enough to develop while being on the bench. Some people need that live game action in order for them to develop. And I think that it is unfair that we can't let somebody who you traded up for
3 first-round picks.
3 first-round picks can't get in the game and let him grow. Like, I understand that, sure, they have all the weapons to make a playoff run,
One's a first
to
round.
make a Super Bowl run. I get it. They have that. But you have to go through the growing pains. Like, you knew what you were doing when you signed up for this. So go through said growing pains. I am not saying this as somebody who's a homer. I'm saying this just literally to make a comparison, and we can use Justin Fields as a comparison as well.
But you can
Justin
go ahead
Fields,
use Josh. Go ahead.
Justin Fields and Josh, both of them, they didn't look that great or impressive their first year out. Josh definitely didn't.
First 2 years.
Right. And it was like you just have to go through it because we're here for the long haul. You're trying to develop somebody who's going to help you for the next 15 years, but you won't give him 1 year to struggle.
But listen, he may not have been on the field, okay? But this is his 3rd year in the same system. Hold on. It's his 3rd year. No, you were here to say something. It's his 3rd year in the same system. I expected a quarterback to be a little bit more crisp in certain aspects. He threw 2 near interceptions where they were his target was surrounded by defenders. How much more development do you need to know? Let me not throw into a triple team.
Hold on.
Let me not throw into a quadruple team.
Okay, this is what I will say to that. It's his 3rd year in the system. Okay, but this is his what? 6th game against a defense? Like against a defense is not something he's familiar with. That's going to throw things out that he's not used to. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're having this conversation about the offense, but what he does and the decisions he makes will be determined by the defenses he looks at, and he doesn't have a lot of experience against pro defenses.
You expect Sam Howell to not throw into a triple team, right? Regardless of what system he's in or how many games he's played in, right?
I mean, I would hope that's a fair expectation.
You expect Desmond Ridder to not throw into a quadruple team, no matter how long he's been on the field, whatever system he's played in, right? He's played quarterback long enough to know that guy ain't open.
I think I can
Let me
find
not
some
throw
plays
over
where
there.
that's.
I mean, yeah, I would assume
That's my point.
No, but hold on. But just because we expect them not to, we've seen it happen. We've seen quarterbacks, and you sit there and you're like, why would you make that throw into that coverage? And that's a part of the growing pains. Like, we expect them not to do it, but they still go.
So here's the difference. One of the big differences between Trey Lance's day and Jordan Love's day is Trey Lance had to play with pretty much backups, whereas Jordan Love played with guys that he's
Christian
going to
Watson,
play
Jerry
with.
Jones.
His
He's
starters.
going to play
He
with
played with his
on
starting
Sunday.
wide receivers.
So you could put out the argument that,
JD
okay,
did
Trey
too.
Lance just didn't trust the guys that he was out there playing with. Like, no matter how you want to slice it, he was just like, I don't feel comfortable throwing to these guys, playing with these guys. But with Jordan Love, he was just like, I'm comfortable with these guys. I know where I'm going with this because I know where he's going to be. So you could put that argument out that, hey, like, Trey Lance would look different with the regular starters than what he would with the backups. Because we've seen Trey Lance play okay when he's with the starters, whether it was his rookie year. I mean, last year he only had that one game in the monsoon game. But in his rookie year, 5 touchdowns, 2 picks, that's not a bad time for somebody that had 2 starts as a rookie. So you would just think that, okay, like, if he's playing with those same starters, would he still look as bad or would he just look better if he feels more comfortable with those guys? I mean, that's something that, maybe we'll see, next week or week 3 or
if you
first week of the
don't
season.
want to panic, that's fine. But I still think there's still a level of concern.
You want to be ahead of the curve.
With the quarterback, because I want him to be a little bit more ahead of the curve.
He don't care
than
about
where he
being
is
right.
now.
He want to be first.
But I don't expect him to go out there and be an all-pro right now. But I expect the decision-making, at the very least, to be a little bit better.
I think if you give him a full season, that you will see that. I think you will see it naturally grow.
That's fair.
Through a full season.
But I still now there were also times where he held on the ball too long. I'm giving him credit for at least 2 of those sacks where timing is not there. You talked about earlier about guys somehow having a feel in the pocket, knowing when that clock is ticking. He didn't show it against the Raiders. How much more development do you need to know, hey, you know what? I've been in this pocket 4 seconds. It's probably time for me to get the hell out of here, or at least get rid of this football. I'm giving him the accountability for at least a couple of those sacks that he took. He got sacked 4 times. 2 of those, in my opinion, were his fault. He held on the ball way too long.
Which is, again, to me, natural for a young quarterback trying to do too much. Just get rid of the ball. Throw it away. Live for another down. Like, you're absolutely right in what you're saying. I'm just saying that, to me, I'm not stressed because he just needs to have more time on the field in live action. Not this practice. No, I'm not talking about practice. I'm talking about a game.
We got the Eagles-Ravens game on in the background. Watching Marcus Mariota maneuver, it was a very similar play that Trey Lance had there where he got sacked in the backfield. He was kind of dodging, tried to duck off to the right, couldn't make it. Marcus Mariota just had that same situation. You could see how efficient he was with his movement in terms of stepping up, moving, gone. It's just going to take a little time for Trey to get that. But he's, 23? I'm not ready to call it on anyone who's younger than, 26, 27. You know what I'm saying? 26, 27. 26, 27.
That's the
26, 27.
So ugly.
Give him a little time. Give him a little time. He's going to be good. Hopefully.
God.
Maybe. I don't know. Hopefully. It's looking a little shaky. I will say it's like, you can see flashes of good decision-making, but the 2 drop interceptions, some overthrows, some late decisions, it is a little concerning. But I'm jury's not out. I still have confidence in my guy from the 49ers, but it's like, all right, come on, dude. What we doing?
All right, we'll see. But that is our time today. Time moved fast.
Hey, look.
This is our first episode. We are trying to keep it down to just 1 hour so you guys don't have to sit here forever with us. Just making sure you can enjoy the vibe that we have
for a while with us.
No, we gotta leave him one more.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
No,
I'm gonna sit here.
Y'all gotta be
Just a
patient.
little taste. We just dip it.
But we want
There you go.
to be that that comfort zone for them. When they get off work and they're ready to listen to some football to 4 guys talk
We're not
about
ASMR.
football.
That's not what we do.
No, he's absolutely right. But at the same time, I know, speaking for myself, if you going over an hour and a half, 2 hours, I don't know if I want to listen for that long, personally.
So
there's got to be
range
some
in
real
this
There's a
podcast.
happy medium. But you know what? You tell us. If you would like us to make longer shows for more content, we can absolutely do that. We obviously know exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about it. So we will vibe off you guys. But for now, we're going to leave you wanting more. We'll have plenty more to come. Sunday, we will have our next After the Whistle show. and we look forward to having you. So thank you guys for watching. From Cordell, the Erics, and Marcus.
No, you're not gonna lump us in there for your club.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely not.
Hey,
Give
y'all,
us
they the
our
Erics.
own names.
Nah, they
Figure out how to make it work for you.
Erics. Y'all the Erics.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Hey,
Don't
I'm
do
Marcus,
that.
you know.
Don't do that.
So, you know,
Bye. Outspoken.
Go
That's what we do.
Falcons. Hey,
Say what you mean what you say.
outspoken, baby.
Yes, thank you.
I'm leaving the frame now.